Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. RealitySpirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. RealitySpirituality. You got a question for RLN? RealitySpirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. RealitySpirituality. Oh, now we get real. Yeah, it's time to get down. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good. That's what I'm talking about. Time to get real.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to Reality Spirituality. I'm your host, the only happiness specialist in the world, Rebecca L. Norrington. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing with your fellow humans. Yes, last week I did take a week off. I had visitors in the area, and we talked about following inspiration, and when I'm inspired to do something, act on something, behave in a certain way, say, I'm going to do it, and if I'm not inspired, guess what? It's the same. So it's really about being aware, being conscious in every moment, and making decisions in the moment, and following your intuition. But let's get back to the show. So I missed you last Sunday, but we're back today live. Let me take a breath, because sometimes I just start off so quickly. Let me take a breath. Because I keep getting new listeners, and I keep getting the same questions, but let me address something that I think is an obsession. I think is a cry for attention. And what I'm talking about is wanting to feel good. There is an obsession. There is an obsession. There is a fierce wanting to feel good. And you can tell by just by the lyrics of songs, by what's on the stories, the movies, the interviews. I was watching. If you know me, I'm a sports fan, but not always. In other words, I like the big games. The baseball, and now we're coming up to the playoffs, World Series. I'm there for it. Basketball, same thing. I like the playoffs. But I was watching a special a couple of days ago on Dennis Rodman. And if you do follow basketball, you know who Dennis Rodman is. And if you don't follow basketball, I'm gonna put a little wager. I'll bet you a quarter that you know who Dennis Rodman is. Dennis Rodman was one of those very colorful players back in the 90s, the 80s? I don't even know what years, but he was the first, scratch that, because I don't know if he was the first, but, the first athlete that I know that went out in public and he put on a wedding dress. I believe he was he was selling a book. He had a book out, and so he was doing publicity for the book, put on you know him, he had a lot of different colors on his hair. He was the first athlete that I know to wear a wedding dress out in public. He's this very, very flamboyant character. Oh, and he traveled to Korea, I guess a couple of years ago, got a lot of flack for that. The bottom line is this. At the end of this I think it was almost 2-hour documentary on Dennis Rodman, his life, his challenges, his back and forth, ups and downs, his low points. I'm going to say there was a sense of I don't want to say imbalance. There was unrest. How about that? Just a sense of feeling of unrest with this person. At the end of his documentary, which when I always get references to being happy or people wanting to be happy, especially people that are quote unquote celebrities, people that are known around the world, around the globe. It's really interesting when they make comments. And at the end of this whole documentary of the championships he won, the NBA championships, all the accolades, all the attention, all of the good deeds, and you can tell all of the marriages, the relationships, you can tell at the end he was sitting down all by himself, and he was looking into the camera, and he says, hold on a second, because I wrote it down. I don't want to get anything wrong. Okay, here we go, because I wrote it down. He said, Dennis Rodman said, I'm one of the top 10 people on this planet that people recognize all over the world. And he is. He's global. I mean, unless you're under a rock, you've heard of or you know Dennis Rodman. Maybe, anyway. He said, I'm one of the top 10 people on this planet that people recognize and know. And I should be happy, right? He says this while his head goes down and he's shaking it left to right. This is really weird, isn't it? This is weird shit. So this man who, like he said, one of the top 10 people in the world that is recognized, and he said, I should be happy. When I talk about and when I focus on being happy or wanting to be happy, topic of being happy, how to be happy, sharing what I know about this thing called happiness, it came out of a desire, a need, a want to be happy myself. I was living life up and down. Some days I was happy. Some days I was on top of the world, and some days I just felt like crap. And I wanted a balance. I wanted to feel good. I was looking for a balance. I was looking for a shred, a thread of peace. I was looking for some kind of peace that would last, not a peace or happiness that would come and go. I was looking for a lasting, and was it even possible to be at peace, to feel peaceful, to be happy all the time? And so I set out to find those answers to those questions. And that's what this show, Reality Spirituality, is about. How to experience more happiness. And when I say happiness is an epidemic, I mean, who out there doesn't want to be happier? And when I say that, when I talk about being happier, I'm talking about throughout all moments. Not just moments when everything is fine. You know, all the numbers add up. The checkbook is balanced. The sun is shining at a perfect 72 degrees. No, I'm talking about how to remain peaceful, how to be happy, how to still feel content and have that vibration and that energy of satisfaction regardless of what is happening. The topic today is, what do you really know? And what I found out is, on this journey of finding how to experience more happiness. And let me start by defining happiness giving you my definition of happiness. Happiness is to be able to be at peace, to feel peace, to be peaceful, regardless of what happens and regardless of what doesn't happen. Regardless of who wins the election, regardless of the global, regardless of what cause you're fighting for, regardless of what your neighbor says, regardless of what your coworker does, regardless of what you see on the news, regardless of all of it, is it possible to be peaceful, have a vibration of peace, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of your experiences, regardless of health, regardless of death, regardless of finances, regardless of relationships? And the answer is unequivocally yes. When I ask you, what do I know, what do you know, what do you really know, what can you say that you know? Every single topic that I choose, every single topic that I discuss on the show has an agenda, has an intention of sharing with you how to experience more happiness. And when I ask the question about what do I know, what do you know, what do you know for sure? What do you really know for sure? And the reason why I'm asking that question is because when you question what you know, when you really think about it, sit down and analyze and digest and go back and what do you really know, the more you ask yourself that question, the more you will discover that you don't know that much. What you think you know, you don't know. Let me give you a perfect example. So the practice is not about what you know. The practice is acknowledging and being okay with and embracing and wrapping your arms around not knowing. The practice is letting go and being okay with uncertainty and not knowing. Because I'm here to tell you, there's not too many things that you know. There might be some things that you believe that you know, but what you really, and let me be very, very specific. First of all, let's start with the stories. All stories are suspect. We've talked about this before, but all stories are suspect. All stories are suspect to questioning the real beliefs. Let me give you a perfect example. About 4 weeks ago, if you listen to the show, you know that I had to go to the emergency, had this big pain in my stomach, back and forth, found out that I have a hernia. They called it, what did they call it? An abdominal incarcerated hernia. Now, what that meant was they didn't know if I needed surgery right away. They actually scheduled surgery, quote unquote, emergency surgery the next morning. But it come to find out after, the drugs, the muscles were relaxed, and so I didn't need the surgery pronto. I didn't need the surgery stat. I didn't need the surgery immediately as what was originally thought. After about a week or 2 weeks, I went to the surgeon, and I actually made an appointment with the surgeon, scheduled surgery for tomorrow. That's right. I scheduled hernia surgery for tomorrow, September the 23rd. Now, before this date, before tomorrow's date, I wasn't really vibing going through with surgery. meaning that following the intuition, following your GPS, following your, your sixth sense, I really wasn't feeling it. And so about 3 days ago, I called and I canceled the scheduled surgery. My point is this. There was a few weeks when I said, well, I know I'm going to surgery on September the 23rd. But a few days before, to cancel it, to reschedule it, to cancel it, I had no clue that was going to happen. When you live your life staying open, being open to all possibilities, there's really things that you don't know that are going to happen that you have no clue. You're going to be surprised. Let me just go. I have a few people that are in the queue that want to contribute to the show, Reality Spirituality. Hold on just a second, because if you do want to talk to me or ask a question, the number to call in is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619, and just press the number 1. And I'm going to go to the phone lines and just give me 2 more minutes here, just explaining about what I know. And this is the thing. And I'm only going to speak for myself. The only reason why I think I know more than I do is because of this entity that we call the ego, because of this entity about the beliefs and the knowing. Oh, I know. But I'm here to tell you that the ego is very tricky. There are more things that I don't know. And the question is, are you okay? Is your ego okay with not knowing? Is your ego okay with living and being okay with uncertainty? Living every moment, living all your days. When I say all the days, being open to all possibilities and not knowing. That means not planning, letting things go, allowing and trusting that the universe is driving. Trusting that the universe is in charge. Trusting that the universe has your best interest, that things that happen, things that unfold are for your betterment. Let me go right to the calls. Hold on just a second. Area code 631. What is your first name? Welcome to Reality Spirituality. Thank you for calling. What's your first name?
My name is Sydney.
Sydney.
Yes. I'm calling from Long Island, New York. I'm a researcher, a scientific researcher for over 20 years. And I think what you're saying is very true. I encounter opposition because I'm a scientist that actually talks about the theory of evolution not being valid, because like what you were saying, do we ask ourselves, how do we know? The ego is tremendous. When I speak to other so-called scientists and researchers about spirituality, it's amazing that you have the show. When I looked at the show, I said, this is like, I have to call in. I said, this is amazing, because I cannot, they will use shame, and they will try to make me feel unscientific if I speak about spirituality, if I speak about non-physical reality, not as opposed to our material reality, but in conjunction with it, to really find out, where do we come from? How did we come into existence? Which leads to other, great questions. What are we here for? But more importantly, how do we get here, and where are we going? Because evolution, the religion of evolution, because that's what I've termed it. I'm writing a book that should hopefully be out in a month or two about it. To say, yes. And when I saw your show, I said, oh my goodness, I said, I have to align with people like this, because we're in a world of like ego. Like what you were saying just resonated with me, because I said, wow, there's so much proof scientifically that non-physical reality exists, that if somebody wants to call it spirituality, that's what I call it, but to not, scare away people who are like very, very scientific, especially atheists, I tell them, atheists become religious as soon as they're dying, or as soon as, oh God, who are you talking to? It's like, I thought you were an atheist, and I'm not saying I'm not religious. So, I'm a true scientist to say, oh yeah, from what I see in the cellular signature and in, from what they call the fossil record, there is a design in creation. And there is no scientific proof whatsoever that I have documented, and anybody can find, of species turning into other species. That is a fairy tale. And scientists have to admit, like I have interviews of other people interviewing so-called Richard Dawkins, the top evolution scientist in Britain, where he says, we don't know. But it must, the but is what gets you. It's like, wait a minute. He said they don't know. So like what you were saying, anybody who tries to tell me or anyone how we got here, you don't know. Now, we can speculate on that, and that's the greatest part. But once you say, oh, well, we evolved from this, well, how? How? And that's when you catch him. We say, that whole religion of evolution is trying to turn people into pure materialists, to say whatever you can get now is all you get, and once you're done, you're fertilizer. That's it. You're by chance. You're by chance. So killing and army war. Hey, that's evolution, and that's where I had to really look at it and say, all right, let me see if this is very scientific. And the more I searched, the more lies I found. And it is terrible because I speak to people, and I had to realize, I had to document and said, okay, the way you can figure out, when I used to do logic in school, I used to say, well, how do you know if somebody's a truth teller or a liar? Because a lot of logical questions are based on that. You have one person that can only tell the truth. They cannot lie. The other person cannot tell the truth. They must lie. So if you tell them, if it's 12 o'clock, you say, hey, what's time it is? They can't tell you 12. They have to lie. So in logic, you can figure stuff out that way. And I said, well, in life, you never know because they mix up truth with a lot of lies. So when you try to debunk the lies, they'll say, well, wait a minute, what they said here was true, which makes it really hard to debunk the lie.
Sydney, let me just jump in because number one, I really appreciate you and just that you resonate. But let me throw, because that's what this show is about. How you do your how, you're into your how do we get here? How did we come here and all that? But this is what I found. This is and I'm on the same train. But this is what I found, that when people really believe something, I don't care if you've given them all of the scientific evidence I don't care if you put everything out there. When people's beliefs are challenged, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot for them to let go of what they really, 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 really believe. Have you found that? And so my point is this. What I've had to do with what I practice, and my show is how to experience more happiness. And when I talk about happiness, it is really an internal peace, how to experience this peace regardless. You said something about why are we here? What's our purpose? Well, I know our purpose. Our purpose is to grow, to be ourselves, to grow and expand. That's it. And to share with whoever or whatever, how many people you can, what you've learned on your journey. And every one of us is so different. We're so unique. I say we are as unique as our fingerprints. So we're very different. But I have a question for you, Sneed. Do you know anything about David Hawkins with muscle testing?
I've heard of muscle testing. My sister used to practice it, where I think it was where she did something where I hold my arms. David Hawkins sounds familiar, but I can't say that I know him. Know anything of him. No, I don't. But I have heard of muscle testing. Yes.
Yeah. So you don't have to, but he's one of my foundational people, and David Hawkins, Hawkins. But anyway, he's got a lot of videos on YouTube, and he was a scientist also. So just as far as testing, you're asking the questions about what's true and what's not true. So the muscle testing was a version of finding the truth. What?
In muscle testing, I noticed there were some inconsistencies. It was like that you would hold, like, say, a medicine, and then, they would test to see whether your muscles were weaker or stronger when you held out your arm as you held up to your chest, from what I comprehend from when they did it to me. There were some things that didn't coincide where I said, okay, it's not as solid as it seems to be, but it is it's a guideline. It's a guideline. Yeah. It's definitely not very solid because I've seen it go wrong a few times, but it's a guideline that needs immense amount of testing. See, that's the stuff that government funding should go into. One thing I do disagree with you on is, just like we said, when somebody knows for sure, it's kind of egoish. When you say why we're here, that didn't resonate. That's when I knew, okay, she can't know. Nobody knows. You see?
Yes,
so, and no disrespect.
Thank you. And,
you're very,
love
very.
That. I love the. And you're right. You're absolutely right. And I love the challenge, and you are absolutely right. So one of the things I do really easily is take back what I just said. I have a little bit of a law background, so I'm going to say scratch that, because you're absolutely right. I don't know why anybody's here. You're absolutely right. But what I know for myself is that that's all I'm doing. I mean, I don't recognize myself from 6 months ago. So thank you for checking me. I appreciate it, and you're right. And I definitely know there's a lot more to it, but one of the things that I'm just going to throw that back on me. That's what I know is one of my journeys and my experiences is growing and expanding and just having more consciousness. You talk about science, but just being more conscious. One of the analogies that I love to. Have you ever, before they blew up the World Trade Center, were you ever all at the top of one of the buildings? Any building?
Oh yeah, I live in New York. I'm in Long Island, so yes, I've visited. Many times I've been in the Empire, the Twin Towers, and from what I saw, especially afterwards, it was like a population of zombies that were under control to actually attack people. Because on Long Island, there was a white guy actually that wears a turban. He's part of like a Sikh religion. He converted, and he was on the news talking about how people tried to run him off the road, and very terrible things. People would walk into 7-Elevens and beat people up. Now these people, still till this day, no weapons have been found. They destroyed a country. Nobody thinks about that. Nobody thinks that we've been at war for over 20 years. This year, a few months ago, a kid that was born when the Afghanistan war started just got deployed there. And I tell people, you don't find nothing wrong with that? So I realized that there is it's kind of like something I read years ago by Malcolm X, where he said the media is the most dangerous thing in the world. And I didn't take it as serious, it was just during such studies. But as I started to study these different philosophies of James Baldwin and, even George Carlin, a lot of comedians are really geniuses in disguise. And when they say something, it's like the jester. Nobody else can say what the jester says because they'll get their heads cut off. But the jester can say it because they'll say, wait, no, he's mad. But he's the only one who can tell the king what he needs to hear about himself. Yes, so we can get Immense truth. I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, good.
No. Well, the reason why. See, this is very interesting. The reason why, because I'm feeling you out. I know more where you're coming from now. The reason why I mentioned the World Trade Center is one of my favorite analogies is I remember when I went all the way up to the top. I've only been up there a couple of times, and I remember looking down and seeing the Brooklyn Bridge, and I remember looking down and I remember seeing a very small plane, and so from the top of the World Trade Center, there is a totally different perspective and a different view. I know this is stating the obvious, a different view than when you're in the lobby of the World Trade Center. And so when I talk about growing and I talk about perspective and I talk about being more conscious, that's what I'm talking about, having a view from the World Trade Center as opposed to having a view from the lobby. Now, one of the things you said something about, the Malcolm X's and all of that, and the media is the problem. The problem, let me tell you what I've learned, my dear Sydney. And the interesting thing is your name, Sydney, is the same name as my goddaughter, so I'm never going to forget Sydney. But let me share something with you. My second book that I'm writing now is called Programmed for Unhappiness. And not only it's not the media, it's the whole programming, my dear Sydney. It's the whole programming. Because I have a question for you. Are words powerful?
Yes, I wrote a book about words. They're that powerful. I tell people, never tell people good morning. Always tell them good day, because morning is for a funeral, and really, morning is at a wake. And what do they tell people to say? I wake in the morning. So I wrote a book called Spellcaster years ago. It's a very short book, 30 pages. Put it on Amazon. I don't even update it because I'm going to have to rewrite eventually. But it was just to give people a taste, to say, look at what we say to each other. Good morning? I said, there's nothing good about morning.
Hold on, my dear, wonderful, judgmental young man. Because the judgments and all of those things that you're saying, and I know that they're true, and you've studied it, and you have a conclusion, and all of that, and I'm saying it with all you can feel me. I'm saying with all love and all of that. But words are not powerful, but we were taught that words are powerful. We were programmed to believe that words are powerful. Who's more powerful? Somebody that can be offended by words, or somebody that cannot be offended? So
I would say that the person.
Hold on, because there is no way, and I used to believe that words were powerful also. I mean, somebody could ruin my day when they said, "Oh, Rebecca, you look tired." It's 8:00 in the morning, and I think I'm really cute, and they tell me I look tired. I mean, that used to ruin my whole day. But the thing is, we were all programmed to believe that words are powerful, but they're just letters put together by a man or a woman, and there is no way that I am going to allow myself to be moved either up or down by some words. So it is. So what I practice, because I am a happiness specialist, what I practice is what to eliminate, behaviors to eliminate, that subtract from my happiness, subtract from my peace, and what behaviors to practice that will add to my happiness. And one of the biggest things is giving words power, or allowing or thinking that words can either hurt, then can make you feel a certain way, can make you act a certain way. It's a whole relearning. No, words are not powerful, but we were definitely programmed, brainwashed to believe that they are. You got to jump on the train with me on this one, Sydney. Come on now.
Well, okay, now this is, I think it's going to get interesting. because I totally disagree. I totally disagree only on the fact that because if a word can make a person feel that way, which, you don't let it make you feel that way anymore, it does contain the power to hurt, but it contains knowledge to protect. If you were to, say, go outside from work and I worked with you and I said, okay, look, when you go outside, be careful because there is an awning that isn't, it looks like it's going to fall. Those words give you the knowledge to say, you know what, I'll walk on the other side of the street. You see, so
now,
words.
Hold on a second. Now, what we're doing is we're doing hypotheticals, and so the hypotheticals.
No. No, it's not hypothetical. If I were to give you knowledge of a situation that protected you with a word, how else do I convey that knowledge? Through words. So words are actually spells, and this is why they call spelling. You spell the letter because it lets you spell the word. The word is the containment unit, a word. That's why it's called a word. That word, which is spelled, creates a sentence. First, in the sentence, you have a term. So when you speak, you create the terms of your own sentence, which is part of a chapter, and a chapter is an order. It's also known as an order. Guess what? It's written on a page, and a page means
Okay, hold on.
I'm
going to have to stop you because it is my show. But how does any of those words that you just told me make me feel or have more peace or feel have more peace or contentment?
Okay,
Absolutely
by
not
confirmation. A confirmation. If you were to not speak to anybody, if words don't have a power, then try taking a vow of silence and communicating.
I did for 40 days.
Oh, okay. And how did it go?
Yeah, I did for 40 days in 2012.
And how did it go? Like how did you communicate? Like, did you stay at home? Did you?
No. I went to work. I had a 9 to 5. There were a lot of people that see. This is the thing. You're talking to a woman that knows what she's talking about as far as experiencing more peace in life. Now, I'm not into the grammar. I'm not into the words, and the SPE means spell, and the word that does. How is that going to bring more peace in my life? You want to know that? That's who I am. So let me share with you, and I'm really passionate about it. I'm so excited that I have somebody to be passionate about this with. Now, back to my point. You talked about the words, and I'm going to get very, very specific because general and hypotheticals really just I could go around and around and around and around in a circle. But what I can tell you is this, that there is I used to allow words to either make me feel good or I would feel good or I would feel bad. Somebody else could say something to me that could hurt my feelings, and it's out there. Oh, you said something, now my feelings are hurt. Well, your feelings are your responsibility. I was giving a talk, this was maybe 3 years ago because it was before I moved to Oregon. I was giving a talk, and there were about maybe 20, 25 people in the audience, and it was in the evening, and one woman brought her little girl, and I've told this story on the show before, brought her little girl, and the little girl was still in diapers, so she was just learning how to walk and roaming around, and I remember thinking, why would you bring a toddler to, a talk in the evening? But I digress. There's always a reason for everything, but whether I know what it is, I don't know, but there's always there's always a reason. And so this little girl was running up and down the aisles, and while I'm talking, and one of the topics was words are not powerful. So I picked up this little girl, and I started to insult her. And I said that she was stupid, much to the audience with their mouth hanging open, a little cute little baby walking around. I said she was stupid. I said she was ugly. I told her she wasn't going to amount to anything. I told her her parents were losers. I went on and on and on, as many insults as I could. directed at a toddler. Now, the adults, all the people that were programmed, all the people that have been brainwashed, all the people that have been conditioned to believe that words hurt and words are powerful, they were sitting there with their eyes open, mouths hanging open. Who the hell, what did I just do? And do you know, Cindy, what this little girl did after I spewed all of these insults to her?
No, what'd she do?
Absolutely nothing. I put her down, and she started doing exactly the same thing that she was doing before I picked her up, which was running up and down the aisles, having a great time in the moment. See, that's who we are. That's who we are before we were programmed. We live in the moment. Cool. We're not caring about what anybody thinks about us. We're not caring about words. Words are not powerful, but we were taught that words are powerful. And so I challenge you or anybody out there that you tell me if whatever you're saying is a program, is it something that you learned, or is it a universal truth?
Okay.
I learned. 98% of the population learned that words are powerful. That's true.
Oh, okay. Well, the experiment you did with the toddler, the inaccuracy of that is that it's as if, because the toddler didn't understand the words you were saying, you see? Thank you. If you spoke to somebody who spoke a different language, they would give you the same reaction that the toddler gave you because they don't. Now, in saying that, it proves to us that you need to understand what the words mean. It's a two-way communication street.
But understanding, so I'm understanding that a word is an insult. I understand that a word is a criticism. I understand that the word is negative. So the understanding, I understand the intention of when people want to say these words. The intention is to hurt. The intention is to criticize. But it's not going to happen on this side of the tracks, because there aren't any words that you can say or that anyone can say to me that is going to take me to another place other than being at peace. Absolutely not. And it's only because, and I wasn't born like this. Trust me, I could be insulted, I could be criticized, I could be all of those things. I could be taken into a tailspin, but it subtracts from my peace. So what I've practiced is words are not powerful. Can you imagine how many people out there in the world, if words weren't powerful and they didn't hurt, all of this political correct, all of this, you offended me. In this second book, Program for Unhappiness, I have a whole chapter about being offended. Don't get me started. Being offended, it's your fault that you're offended because you're allowing words and other people to move you. No. And you're absolutely right. Go ahead.
There was an experiment that anyone can do by a Japanese scientist where you take food or usually bottles of water and you write on it love. You write love on one, and you write hate. All right. Now, the written word, even the written word has a power to sustain or decay anything, because the experiment is proving that, to say when you write love on something, and anyone can go and do this to prove it. So no matter like how we said at the beginning of the show, no matter what we say, they cannot take our. Well,
it's the energy behind it's the energy behind it.
Okay, and you might be right. You might be right on that. This subject requires immense scientific and just experiments to understand it. So the more you're at like the precipice, about to go to a higher level, because without a doubt there is a part where words are actually spoken language itself. It might even be a lower form of communication. Like
that's
we might
what
have.
I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, no, I can see that, but in protection.
And that's the other. No, go ahead.
In protection of yourself, you have built a very strong resistance to the word's power. So instead of saying, because that's what that it's being shown as, to say, no, the words can hurt you. You're just a strong person that it used to hurt before when you didn't have your defense. Now you've built up such a level of intelligence and comprehension that you can deflect the words and make sure that they don't affect you. That doesn't make them effectiveless. It makes them still dangerous. But if you don't know how to defend, now the toddler has the defense of innocence and ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. The toddler didn't know, so it can't hurt him. And that's why it doesn't affect the toddler.
The toddler was not brainwashed, so the words don't hurt yet. The toddler wasn't brainwashed. I'm going to say programmed, but brainwashed. The toddler wasn't brainwashed yet.
And program is a perfect word.
The toddler. So that's, and the thing. No, and it's not built up. So this is not a battleground where anything is built up. What it is a unlearning of what I learned, because whatever I've learned, I can unlearn. So it's an unlearning of the program. It's an unlearning of the brainwashing. And you use the scientific example, words, but it's the energy of the person that's writing the words. That is the thing, because we all are energy, and now I remember my point. And we are very prehistoric. We're looking at and thinking that the cavemen were prehistoric. No, we're prehistoric, because what I learned on my 40 days of no speaking, and the reason why, I say a reason why is because I was inspired to do it, but what I've learned is that people are some people, not all, very uncomfortable with silence. That's what I've learned, number two. Number two, I learned I can communicate with my energy. I don't need words to communicate. I can communicate with my energy, and I could also communicate, using hand signals. But I've never needed words. And the other thing, this is the other thing, which was really interesting for those 40 days. It was an experiment because people, not everybody, but some people they felt bad, thought I was deaf, thought I was handicapped, thought I couldn't speak. And so I was allowed a lot of front of the line, just a lot of conveniences that some people would give somebody that was handicapped. So I learned quite a lot of different things. But this communicating with words, even you and me talking, because of our different background, the word love might have a different meaning for you than it does for me, or the word respect, or the word, because that word respect. See, all man-made terms, I'm not into any man-made terms. Man-made. You know the difference.
Well, how do we know that man made them? Because that's the big question. How do we know that man made them? Language could have been imparted upon us. Because one person, if they go back and say, oh, well, when we were cavemen, how do you know? We know we were created as we are, and 10,000 years ago in Egypt or in India or in Europe or wherever, we had different languages, but all cultures speak about it being imparted to humans. Nobody talks about we developed this. It was always something, technology, literature handed down to us by the so-called, gods, and never a singular. The whole thing, that's where the evolution thing I noticed. I said, wow, it makes people materialistic, immoral people that will, what we see today, you're polluting the oceans, cutting down trees. And I look at that and I say, wait a second. How could people get mad if you're going to take down a statue, but they can run a pipeline through a native burial ground? So I look at it, and now this is just observation, which is the truest form of learning. Now you say, well, everything I'm being told is backwards. And even the English language, that's what made me look into it, to say, wow, maybe what we're saying isn't what really it is. Like now people will say something, and I'll say, well, can you define what opinion means? And they can't. So my whole conversation with them, I'll say, wow, I gotta back off, because you the person, it's like how you're saying, if they don't, they want to believe what they want to believe, that's it. It's like, I can't do anything. I can cultivate the area around them to maybe help when they ripen. It's like you can't force a flower to bloom, but you can cultivate the area around it. Yeah, and that's what, you have an
now
immense
you're using
knowledge.
another one. I like to use the avocado. When people are ripe, they're going to get it. You can't bite into avocado before it's ripe. It's just not time. But one of the things, and let me give you, and then I'm gonna wrap up the show. But I really enjoyed it. See, I'm really smiling because I don't get a lot of people even wanting to debate or wanting to chat about this. Hold on a second. I've got to get back into this computer. NDR. Hold on a second. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. Okay.
I'm right here.
Okay. What was I going to say? I'm going to give you let's just go back to the words really quick. The words are, so what I found is when I'm out in public, I do a lot of listening. There's no reason for me to talk. There's no reason for me to say anything. Unless somebody asks me a question, I just do a lot of listening. Because what I found is that because of our differences, and I don't know a person unless I'm in their skin. Unless I'm in their skin, I don't know why. I know they're doing the best they can. I'm not going to sit and point my finger and say, there's something wrong with you, or there's something wrong with the world. I don't see the world as having any kind of issues or problems. What I see is a lot of order. I see things that are happening for a reason. Maybe I don't know the reason. Maybe I don't understand the reason. But I know that even my evolution, the earth has an evolution. This planet has an evolution. This country has an evolution. And it is going to happen regardless of what I say or regardless of what I do. And that said, that's why one of the things for if you want more peace and you want more happiness, my dear Sydney, is to stay out of other people's business and not notice what anybody else is doing. Period. Because when I'm in somebody else's business and I see what they're doing, I could find 100 things wrong with someone else. I would look out in the world and find 100 different causes that people should be interested in or people should think something is important. See, one of the things that I've had to learn is what I think is important in this world, including thinking that happiness is number one, because what else do you have? You don't have your health, you don't have your relationship, you don't have your finances, but you're miserable. Are you kidding me? Look at the people out here with quote unquote everything. They have everything and they're unhappy. I don't need to start listing them, do I? No, I don't need to start listing the Robin Williams, the Princes, the Michael Jacksons, the Andrew Bourdain. I don't need to start listing any of them. But so what I'm saying is, if you want to know, if you want to practice what's going to bring you more peace on this journey, that's what the show is about. And one of the things that practice is not noticing what anybody's doing and staying out of their business. Trust me, Sydney, that was a hard one for me to keep going, because I got to put my nose in somebody else's business because I know exactly what's wrong with them. But that subtracts from your own peace and your own happiness. I'm going to give you I'm going to give you the end, the last statement. I really enjoyed your calling in and bantering back and forth, and I love you challenging me and saying that I was wrong. I love that. My son tells me all the time. So please share with my audience, sum it all up. Bring us home, Sydney.
Okay. I would say that we're all on our journey, and that happiness is not a destination. It's actually, a thing that will come like a sunny day, and you got to have night. So when we're on our journey, we're going to realize that, say I want to become a doctor, on the way to becoming that, I might become something else. So when we think what we want to do, yeah, it might divert in that way, but a happiness, and there is a reason for everything. Keep always in mind there is no coincidences. For me to find the show today without looking, never hearing it before, feeling the energy, there are no coincidences. There's so much that we don't know. And what you said at the beginning, it was just that was the greatest. We don't know. The ego will trick us. And yeah, I really enjoyed your show. I mean, I think it's great. It's love, happiness. It's there, but I also think that the opposites are there as well. There's an old saying: no tree can grow to heaven unless the roots go all the way down to hell. Yeah, and I know, and just like you said, it could push buttons. It could push buttons because a lot of people want to say, oh, it's controversial until it gets controversial to them. And that's the truth. If you have a tree reaching to heaven without the roots wrapping around hell, those are the pastors that fall over because you got to understand your dark side and your light side, and they're bounded and braided together. And it weakens you, where you will fall over. You can't know a sunny day without a rainy day. And a plant doesn't grow with just sun. It needs rain, it needs darkness, and it needs wind to build resistance. So as we look at that, we say, wow, what are we? What are we? We look at the natural world, we look at ourselves, there's a distinct separation in the Western person as opposed to the person, say the tribal person, that you say, wow, this person takes nothing of the earth that it cannot give back. So when we say that, oh, we're messing up, no, we're not. They're not. The pollution part is. So what happened? This lets us see where we can go. If we don't have a clear vision. So to look and observe and say, man, what I've been told was wrong. So how did we get here? It seems as if we may have been created. It points toward more than one. Where are we going? Every religion talked about there was no death. It was called the afterlife. So why are people trying to tell me, no, it's death now? No, it's not. It was the afterlife. And what we did right now, we cannot take anything physical, but can we take behavior with us? Can we take hatred? Can we take love? So maybe the non-physical things, this reality here, may be like a school to teach us, to let us say, hey, let me see if he or she gets it now. Or maybe they just got to go to school somewhere.
I do agree I do agree that this journey is a school. I do believe that I'm in training. I do believe that I'm practicing. I do believe. But let me say this. You made a statement about the trees and the roots from hell to heaven. Who's to know that the roots are in heaven and the top of the tree is hell? See, the programming
that is great.
But see,
oh
that's
my
what I'm
goodness!
talking about, the programming.
You're amazing. You are amazing. Wow, you really flipped it upside down. I got to think about. Thank you. Oh man, that's a good one. What if yes? And I thought, wow, amazing. Thank you for that.
See, honey, I'm a good call you, honey. and see, this is the real truth. So that's what I'm. When you get down to the nitty gritty and you dissect all of it, and you get to what I like to call the least common denominator. Okay, Mr. Scientific, the least common denominator. It's about dissecting and so it's not about regurgitating. Listen, Sydney, if I'm saying something that if I'm saying the same things that I've been saying a year from now, I mean the same things. Well, there might be a couple things, but then I know that, wow, the growth. So the growth is constant. Growth is constant. And that's why I always say just to stay open and remain open to all possibilities. And see, you, my dear, are open. And that is the key right there to recognizing the programming, recognizing the brainwashing, just by being open. That's it. And do you know how many people cannot be open? They're so closed that they cannot even look outside of the what do they call them? What do you put on the side of the horse so they can't see? Blinders. I don't know what they call them, but anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So your openness is the key, Sydney. Seriously, just being open. You and me, we don't have to agree on anything, but I'm open and you're open, and so that's that.
Oh, yeah. A part of a conversation is about both of us growing and reaching, a better understanding and comprehension, as opposed to like what we both know that most people in society will argue. They'll debate. Because debate means to debauch, to beat up each other. And that's what we see in debates and arguments. We had a conversation where the real goal is to say, what are we learning from speaking with each other? And as I say, speaking with, not me speaking to or at, because people make that mistake as well. To see, I like to speak to you. Well, why don't you speak with me instead? And it's like Confucius said, if you want to lead people.
You're so picky. Stop being so picky. They can see. The thing is, what's interesting about you, and I love you. I already love you. Is the word has to be said the right way. I have to. What did you say earlier? You talk at me. Don't say good morning. Good morning. See, all of those rigidities, and I love you, and I understand what you're saying, but being rigid like that with something has to be said and done and spoken a certain way is going to subtract from your happiness, my dear, because if it's said any other way or another way, then all I'm saying is just be open with how anybody wants to express themselves.
Yeah, but if it subtracts from happiness, that's okay, because you got to have that down with the up. I mean, I know that if I try to be happy all the time,
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing anything on purpose that's going to subtract from my happiness.
No, definitely not on purpose. But think about if you're going to be on all the time, if you're going to be up all the time.
I am on all the time. It's exhausting.
and that's exactly what I was going to talk about. It's very exhausting. So to think that maybe you don't want to look at it as going down, but it's resting to say, okay, now I'm not happy, but I'm not sad either. And then they might be those elated moments. I could prolong them. And there are going to be the depressed moments that I'm okay with, because I know it's part of life, and that's like the lower part of the wave when I go back up. That's the roots gripping, or, like you said, it could be where heaven is the roots and we're growing into hell. I mean, it could either or. A lot of people don't like to think of that because it lets us know that, hey, you can be that too. And it's part of us. It's our shadow part. What about other parts that we don't know about? I mean, when somebody says a part of me thinks this, well, what part is that?
That's
who
right.
Is thinking it? Yeah,
No, I was going to say that's right, because you know and I know that this is just one dimension. I mean, how many dimensions are out there? And quite frankly, the time, the dimension when the stars blow out and they die off, what and we see them 4 years later. The time, the dimension, everything's happening in the same dimension. Our conversation right now is just starting, or is it ending? See, come on now. Don't get me started.
Yeah, no,
don't make me go into another dimension and talk to you.
I mean, it's funny that you say that, because the mind or the brain seems that the mind might actually be transmitted, the transmission where how we're speaking to each other, and, we can't see each other, but ourselves that we're, what is making me talk? It's not just a bunch of chemicals that evolved over, magic, like they say. Something could act. What if we're somewhere else, streaming our consciousness into these bodies, speaking to each other over electronics? Because the physical, it seems like we're more than a physical, without a doubt. I mean, the television set can be destroyed, but the signal is still there. So we, in a sense, are immortal. In a sense, when you look at that, we what are we though? That's the thing. If we're that signal, then we're not what's, that really brings the Twilight Zone type of effect into it to say,
we're consciousness. We're consciousness. We're consciousness. We're energy. We're conscious. We're conscious energy.
Well, that's the thing.
And
what is
like
that?
I could. So you stare at a wall. You're looking at a wall. You just look at a wall, keep looking at a wall. You keep looking at a wall. Then you think about, okay, you find a spot on a wall. Then you think about, well, now you start witnessing yourself looking at the wall. Okay, so you're looking at the wall, but now you are witnessing yourself looking at the wall. So the question is, who is the witness?
Yeah. Who is the witness and who is noticing the witness? So now you're witnessing, or you're saying, okay, I can look at myself, look at the wall, but how do I know of the guy looking at myself? There's something behind that. Alan Watts, a profound philosopher who's been dead about 40 years, spoke about this in a sense of, he goes, you are youing. He goes, when somebody comes to change the ego runs up to the next floor and it hides. It masquerades as the higher self. And people will say, oh, no, now I'm a yogi, now I'm this, the ego's gone. No, the ego is just masquerading as something else. When the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And that is to say that all the good doers in the world are troublemakers on the pretense that of kindly let me help you or you'll drown, said the monkey, putting the fish safely in a tree. And that's what we see that. Oh, so if the monkey's trying to do a good deed, he's killing the fish. And likewise, that saying holds a lot. Like, wow, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Which is another man-made saying. I'm not into any man-made saying.
How do we know
I get what you're saying. I definitely get what you're saying. But the thing is, I'm telling you, I'm not looking at what anybody else is doing. I'm not looking at what anybody else is doing. I'm not making a comment about what anybody else is doing. That's the universe's job. That's the universe's problem. That's the universe doesn't need my help. One of the things I had to let go of, and then I'm really going to wrap it up because I could stay with you. I know it. Listen, come on, not too many people can chat with you. But the thing is, what is the solution? Now, this is my purpose. One of my things is I am consciousness. I am consciousness in a human form. I'm consciousness in a human form, and my purpose personally is to be the example of the universe. What the hell does that mean? Be a human example of the universe. What does that mean? Well, that means that I have to practice. I want to. This is what I practice. And I practice all of the things that add to happiness, add to me peace. That means that making peace is the number one priority. Moment by moment, I'm making a commitment to being more peaceful. I'm surrendering to whatever is happening in the moment. I'm humbling the ego. I'm actually starving the ego because the ego I'm not hating on the ego, but I recognize its journey. I recognize its job, and its job is to make me feel as bad about myself as possible for as long as possible. I just recognize the ego, but I know what voice it is. So it's my choice to give it power or not. It's my choice to make sure that I am making my decisions consciously as opposed to with my ego, being okay with uncertainty, letting go, choosing my perspective, choosing my focus, staying out of other people's business, and trusting. Mm-hmm. I trust and I know that everything is in order. period. Everything, like you said, there are no mistakes. No, what did you say? You said, I say there are no mistakes. You said there are no, what did you say? Anyway, it was
coincidences?
Same thing. But
the coincidences, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was saying, there's no coincidences. Yeah.
Yes. And so my question is, what are we contributing? We're talking about, I want to be of service to the world. I want to, leave the world a better place. My favorite quote is, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. You're right, Sydney. It is the journey, and it's the journey in every moment. But the journey is, what is the journey? How can you navigate through this journey called life, being at peace? Is it possible? All the things that are going on in the world, is it possible to still be peaceful, to still feel peaceful, regardless of what's happening? That is a practice, and that is a practice that I share and that I share with others and then teach people how.
I think that's great. I really do. I mean, peace within, it does start within. And in the world that we see today, it can and has broken many people. I mean, I think what people do is they'll run to that, nothing, I'm not saying bad things about religion, but, they'll run to something like that. Nobody converts to a religion. You have to be sick enough to accept it, mentally sick enough, and then the person can be controlled and, like how you were saying, programmed and told this is the way you think, this is what your prejudices, your ego will be, and anybody who's not part of this cult or group is the other side. So if you're not one of us, you must be one of them. And if
That's
we
right.
go into more of a, peace within, saying, hey, you know what, I'm just going to sit back and observe, because I'm not sure what the purpose is. I'm not sure if I'm here to just observe. I mean, I think it's to learn. I think for some reason, these are not coincidences. These are more like synchronicities or serendipities, which is what science try to call it, because they still can't explain it. But that's what it is. It's our non-physical. How do we know? How did I know to call? You could have been busy, not picked up the line. I might have listened for 10 minutes. You see? So these are the things that the questions that people, are told not to ask. Like, yes, the programming, I think, is the best word that you have for that, because I heard a guy once say, brainwashing is good. He goes, you should wash your brain of what you were, programmed with. So the programming is more of an accurate description of what's happening. I mean, the people, like, I'm a person that I left school and eventually, I completed later, but I had to leave it. People say, oh, well, did you drop out? I say, no, drop out is to make you feel bad. I left. What do you mean drop out? I'm like, you get forced out. You're in an environment that's going to kill your creativity. And the people that do graduate, those are the people that have a problem. Those are the people that you should be worried about. I remember.
I was going to say, you see how you just gave a perfect example about how a word makes you feel bad. You said the word drop out, and he says, no, I didn't drop out. That's a negative.
No,
I left.
No, I said it's meant to make you feel bad. So just like how I know mourning is meant to make you feel mourning, I know that, okay, that's what the word is meant to do. And knowledge is power. It gives you the power to protect yourself. So somebody else, I've seen other people say, oh, man, I dropped out of school, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what do you thought? I didn't drop out. You might have dropped out, but I didn't. And I became much more educated than most of the college professors I speak with. The professor at of sciences over here in Long Island wouldn't even walk with me when I spoke about, questioning human origins, and, I was giving a lecture, and she, walked out of the building with me at the same time. I figured I'd walk and chat with her, and I noticed, the vibe, and I said, you know what, let me just stand here, and, she just kind of ignored me, and I realized, I said, okay, her paycheck depends on her not knowing or knowingly ignoring, just the way, Yeah, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. People that get paid, like one of my friends, he said, "Hey, I want you to debate the professor of astrophysics over in Ithaca." It's a guy he knows. I was on a radio show with him years ago, and I go, "That guy can't debate me on the air because he can't say certain things." And the guy I knew goes, he talked with him, and he goes, "You know something, you're right." And I go, "Yeah, because his job depends on that. He has to lie and poison the youth to keep the government's control." I said, remember, government means govern, to restrict, to limit, to hold back, and ment is the Latin word for mind, mente. So it's mind control. That's what government institutions, colleges, school is the advertisement that makes you want society just the way it is. And you don't think, you say, hey.
And parents too. And parents too.
Parents are the closest, and the funny thing is parents will try to indoctrinate a kid, and then they'll send them to school, and the kid will come back different. And I'll let them know, hey, when you send your kids to Caesar, don't be surprised when they come home Roman. And then if not, like you said, some of them will already be Romans, and they'll make the kid a Roman, and I'm not saying anything against Romans, it's just an analogy, but, it could be Greek or, whatever. But that's the thing. It's a programming to say, why are you not letting me be me? What's so scary? What power do I have that you got to create $1 billion a year industry to distract me with advertisements? And the word entertainment means to distract, to hold the attention of. So when people say, oh, I like that entertainment, I say, oh, so you like to be distracted? And then I say the next question is, what are they distracting us from? What is it that native cultures knew to say, hey, man, we don't know where we're going, but we got to prepare for that. Like the ant that collects things during the summer, and the grasshopper, starves in the winter because he didn't.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what I want. There's nothing wrong with what anybody is doing. See?
Well, that's the thing. You got to have those. Yeah, you got to have sacrifice to have not. You got to say, okay, somebody's got to starve to know what not starving is. It's not saying that, oh, I want them to starve. It's to say it's the rainy, sunny day truth. Nobody can say, oh, well, every day is sunny, so, I know what is sunny. No, you got to have the opposite. You got to have black without white. You can't read the words without the paper behind it. That background, that substance to stand under, to be the opposite, the roots, and the tree. And this, it's easy to separate and try to say, I'm just going to walk this way. I tell everybody, if you're in hell, remember, the road to paradise begins in hell. Where else is it going to? It's not going to begin in paradise. So it's so true of these.
Let me say this. If you're in hell, I don't care. And then I'll. You suck me in. If you're in hell, if you're experiencing hell, anybody out there that's experiencing hell, nothing has to change. Your circumstances don't have to change. The situation doesn't have to change. You can change from being in hell just by changing your perspective, period. That's it.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Yeah, so there is no such thing as being in hell.
But now, what I was trying to say is that, okay, when you change that perspective and you get to that better place, it began, it has to begin. It can't begin in a good place. So if you're there, remember, that road begins there. So all you got to do is walk it, and you're going to get to your paradise. But just remember also, the road to hell begins in paradise as well. So
let me say this.
Certain.
How about this? There's no such thing as hell and or paradise. See, that's another programming.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. I mean, hell. Okay, maybe hell is heaven. So see, it is a relearning of all of it, and it starts with: are you into the question is this: do you want to be happier? Period. That's the question. Is either yes or no. And if you do want to be happier, I share with people what to practice. And let me say this: there's only 2%, Mr. Einstein scientific, because happiness is a formula. It is no, oh, I'm happy. No, there is a formula to happiness. And in that formula, there's not one person outside of yourself that is in the formula. That means anybody that you're noticing. That means anybody that you're looking at. This means anybody that you're paying attention to. That means anybody that you're judging. This happiness is a formula, and it only has one individual, one entity, and that's you, the person in the mirror. So if there's anybody else in that formula, from a friend to a coworker to the world, to the people with the causes, if you're out there looking and, oh, why are they marching for global warming, whatever it is, PETA, animal rights, whatever cause you want to use. It doesn't matter. Plastic bags. all of those causes, all of those things are going to subtract from your peace and happiness. I'm just letting you know that. I'm not saying to change it. I'm not saying to do, but what I'm telling you is there's only 2% of the population that can look in the mirror and say, and this is something that I'm not going to I can't back down because it's probably less than 2%, maybe it's 1%, but not a lot of people. It's mostly herd animals out there, Sydney, herd animals that are programmed and that really can't make a different decision, can't make a different choice. If somebody cuts you off on the road, if you're driving and they cut you off you're on the freeway and you almost have an accident, usually the programmed response is anger, frustration, flipping somebody off. But what if I told you that person that just cut you off on the freeway just found out that their only child was hit by a drunk driver and now they're in surgery? Your perspective about them and them cutting you off is going to shift. So it's all about shifting. It's all about moments. It's all about choice. It's all about, are you committed to to prioritize peace and prioritize contentment and happiness? And the thing is, if you don't, that's okay. But know that whatever your energy is, that's what you are contributing to this planet. So if you're angry at somebody, you're contributing anger to the planet. If you're judgmental, and all judgments, I'm sorry, it was so hard for me to get this one. All judgments subtract from peace, subtract from happiness, every single one. And the only reason why I judge someone else is because I judge myself. So this thing about judging is another programming. We were programmed to judge what's good, judge what's bad. Oh, don't get me started. I could have a show for 9 years.
It was
dear
great.
Sydney, did I enjoy hanging out with you or what? What a great show today.
It was great. I will talk to you soon, and I will look for do you do every week, or is it daily, or how is it?
Every Sunday at this time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm on the West Coast. And,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll talk soon, and thank you for having me on the show. Okay?
And I'm going to give you a homework assignment, Mr. Scientist. You ready?
All right. Go ahead.
You ready? As he giggles.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of hypothetical. We did a lot of theories. We did a lot of that. I would like you, or not. See, I'm so easy. I give homework assignments and you don't have to do them. Your homework assignment is to prepare 3 questions. You don't even have to do 3. You can just do 1. Up to 3 questions. What are your biggest challenges? You, personally, my dear Sydney. What are your challenges in the next 6 months?
All right. I'll write that down, and I will speak with you soon. All right?
Okay. All right. Love it. Thank you so much.
Right.
What a great contribution to reality spirituality. I really appreciate that, young man. I really, really do. Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. My website is RebeccaNorrington.com. Follow me on Twitter at RLNorrington. My Instagram handle is Reality Spirituality. My YouTube channel is a work in progress, but I do have a few videos on YouTube. My first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be purchased on Amazon.com. And my second book, Program for Unhappiness, will be out sometime this year. sometime, did I say this year? One of these days. It might be out this year. And until next week, my dear audience, I want you to remember who you are. You're a physical extension of the universe. You're always evolving. You're always changing. You're always growing. Love is patient and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Be your own best friend. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. It is about the journey. It is about the journey and every single moment. Thank you for listening to Reality Spirituality.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's the new experience. Reality Spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Reality Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality Spirituality. Oh, now we get real.